for the school takeover that's been happening in our communities over the past 10 years is nothing but the shell game. And we've decided not to play the shell game anymore. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. Many of the parents in this audience have met with Chicago Public Schools, has tried to improve their schools, and has repeatedly been sabotaged, been told that your school is a failing school. So today what we are going to do is make sure that the public knows that we are clear that this is a violation of our civil rights. And this is not 1945 in Alabama where we have to count jelly beans in order to vote. But in 2012, we are silenced. We are taxpayers, and we are given no role, no say-so in what happens to our schools. And they cannot just tell us that they're going to close our schools, give them to a private operator, and then say that that's in the best interest of our kids. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes.
A lot of the kids come to me talking about, we're going to turn around, we're going to be pushed out in the street. We don't want that to happen in the community. We want the mayor to save our schools.
I'm here this afternoon speaking on behalf of 556 students in this building. I'm speaking on the behalf of this turnaround that the people behind me and our principal, Dr. Tiffany Bronson, is not okay with. But first off, if they're going to make a turnaround and make some changes, they can put some changes by giving us some more programs. They can put some changes by changing our uniform colors, and maybe they can put some changes and give us more educational programs. Not always, sometimes we need reading and math, which is okay in life, but we want some more fundable programs like Double Dutch, dance class, express our minds and our goals. And as our pledge is, we will have goals and dreams every day. We will climb to reach those goals and dreams every day. And this turnaround is not unacceptable. And what I think on my behalf as council president, I've been doing this for 3 years now, and this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. We went through 3 principals within the last 3 to 5 years now. This is unacceptable. Dr. Bronson, she's doing enough. She's doing turnarounds by herself.
Piccolo shouldn't be closed. None of these schools should be given to these monsters. I mean, they're coming in and destroying our education for our children. Our teachers work real hard. I don't think it's fair for our teachers, our staff members, our children. And if they really want to talk about hurting education for our children, just look at the scores that AUSL has done for these schools that they have turned around. They have not scored right. If you can see on the data sheets that we've been given to numerous people, every time they get a school, they score high, but after that, they start dropping in points. And they're not showing that in the media anywhere. So I say no AUSL, no turnaround. People, we need to get together and get this done right.
Wendell Smith almost tripled the ISAT achievement scores once Principal Banks took over the administration. Secondly, Wendell Smith succeeded in retaining the gains in spite of these absolutely unacceptable cuts and lack of funding. Some of the losses have been no library, no reading coach, no math coach, we've lost that, art program, the disciplinarian, teacher assistants. 90% of the after-school tutorial services that assisted the children in reading and math. In addition, the funding, outcome of the funding is, as you heard, overcrowded classrooms, split classes, at the primary level and beyond. Teachers expected to teach 2 years of curriculum to 2 different sets of children in one classroom. We have an ongoing, continually and growing student population of homeless babies. At this point, we have over 60, and for our IEP children, we have over 70. But we have absolutely no additional funding to support their success in their academic performance. So we are asking if we could have a faculty like this standing behind me sustain, first get close to a triple growth in ISAT performance, and then sustain it even in the face of all these cuts. We don't have incompetent teachers. We have exemplary teachers and an exemplary instructional leader. What we don't have is a supportive board of education. It is not Wendell Smith that has failed these children. It is CPS that has failed Wendell Smith.
Most of you have seen me at the CPS board meeting talking about not only my child, but all the students that go to Children's Career Academy High School. This is not about money. This is about money, but what it is, the board is not, I couldn't even know what to say. The bottom line is, you want to know who's the biggest gangbangers in the city of Chicago is? Rahm Emanuel, Daly, and Bazaar. They don't care about your kids. They're just like, I hate to say it, but they're just like drug dealers. They don't care how they get their money. They use your child. They don't care how they get it. They use your child. And they don't care if they go to jail or whatever. They're just like Emanuel and Bazaar. They don't care if your kids go to jail because they're not educated in it. I mean, how can you take programs out of a school and say that we're educating your kids?
All right, come on now.
Where's Ron's kids at in the private school? He's saying his kids too good to go with us. You know, this is not a race issue because this is not about black and brown. You know, this is about money. This is about money. Your kids ain't nothing but meat to Rahm Emanuel and Bazaar. That's all your kids is worth, meat. If your kids is special ed, he's double A, triple A meat. That's how Ron see it, and that's how Bazaar see it.
All right.
I mean, that's right, it is 99%. That's all it is. The bottom line is that children should not be turned around to school that my daughter goes to. My daughter begged me, they said, Daddy, I want to go to Tilden. I said, no, you ain't going to Tilden. But they said, Daddy, I want to go to Tilden. I want to go with my cousin. So I took them out and put them right there in Tilden. They wanted to learn, so, hey, they learned. But like I said, you can't blame the parents for the failing school. You can't blame them for the failing school. You got to blame the head boss. That means you got to blame Ron when he left. Rahm Emanuel, you got to blame Ron Hilverman, you got to even blame Ernie Duncan. The turnaround is another form of Renaissance 2010. If you look at your history, that's what it is. Another form of Renaissance 2010. That's what it is. But you ask them about the resources. I mean, how can you take computer out of a school and say we're educating your kids? How can you take carpentering out of the building and say we're going to give you jobs? The jobs that's coming up now are technology jobs, but yet they don't have in most of the schools. But yet they're going to educate your kids.
But they have no money.
But they have no money, but they're getting raises. Then to give a guy $27 million to run 9 schools. Give us that $27 million and let us run our school. And like I'm saying, children should not be closed because they took all the programs out of our school. We don't have no programs in our school. But yet we made a game without no programs. We made a game, we went from a 3 to a 2. So imagine if we had programs in our school, where we would be at. You know, imagine what we'd be at. All I can say is, when you go to the board meeting on Wednesday, let them know you're not closing our school because we're not giving up. We ain't give up on our kids. They say education starts at home, but it finishes at school. So you can't educate if you ain't got nothing in there. I bet Ron's kids got everything they need at his school. They got computers. They got carpenters. They got wood shop. But that's just something, here's a mayor talking about our school, but his kids can't go to school. So he's saying his kids too good to be with us.
I think all of us out here are pretty clear by now. This so-called education plan engineered by the mayor and his cohorts, the Commercial Club of Chicago, and carried out by his appointed hatchet people, the Board of Education and CEO Brazar. It's no education plan, it's a business plan. And what are its goals? To turn Chicago into an upscale global city, to scrub clean its working class history, to push low-income black and brown people out of the city, and to increase corporate, financial, and real estate profits for the 1%. It's a 1% plan, not ours. And it has nothing to do with education. How could it be about education if the board and CPS ignores educators? And what about children's first teachers? When was the last time you saw CPS thinking about closing a school and they sat down in a circle with teachers and parents and students, provided child care and food to have a real open, honest conversation, to learn from us? They don't do it because this is not an education plan, it's a business plan, and it's a form of colonialism. Anytime you have a situation where those in power try to do whatever they want to the 99% because they swear they know what's best, that's colonialism. Profound colonialism and disrespect. When the mayor takes away chairs from our elders who are sitting in his office just to talk to him, and for 3 days makes the Cocoa elders sit on a cold, hard floor because they might use the chairs as a weapon, that's disrespect. When Piccolo parents have to occupy their school just to talk to the mayor at CPS and the police try to starve them out, disrespect. When Whittier parents have to occupy their field house for 43 days just to have a library for their children and the mayor and CPS won't meet with them and lie to them, disrespect. Or when we have to sleep outside on the sidewalk in the rain in December just to get in line 2 minutes to plea and yell at brick walls, disrespect.
I'm an alumni of Tilden Career Community Academy. I graduated in 2006, and upon graduating, I went to Florida A&M University on a full scholarship, and I go to Chicago State University. I have a major in political science and a minor in philosophy. I am a product of the Chicago Public School system. I know what we're capable of. They're trying to threaten my school, my alma mater, with a turnaround. I have colleagues, I have peers from Diet, from Dunbar, from so many different schools on the south side of Chicago that they say are failing. But when I look to my left and to my right, with my colleagues and with my coworkers, I see success stories. I know what we're capable of. Don't close us down. Don't turn us around. Give us a voice. Hear what we're saying. Because we've been there. I've been there. I know it works. I go to children. I sacrifice my time. I know what these students are going through and what they need. Give them a voice. Listen to us parents, us teachers, us students, and us alumnus. Give us a voice. We know what to do. That's all I have to say.
I live in this community for many years. I am the crossing guard for 33 years. At 3711 West on Douglas. I have seen many kids come and go. I have seen them grown. I have seen them shot down. But I have seen them make a difference in our community. I have seen them grow to young men and young ladies. And now I have seen them grow to grandparents. In our community, our school sits right in the middle where we all can guide it and cherish it and point to it and say, I've been there. I went through there. Our kids love their school just like a home. You already done took our jobs away. You already done took our homes away. Now you want to take our education away. Now, see, I got a problem with that because, see, I have a dog at home, and dogs can teach new tricks. Now, this is what I want to say. One thing you can take from us, you can take all of that, but you cannot take our pride and our dignity. I stand for somebody. And as my kids grow up, they are somebody. We are somebody in the community, outside of the community. We love one another. See, this is what we have to do. Parents got to come together. And when we work together, we can show anybody how to do whatever. Long time ago, there was no schools, was it? Who taught us? Our parents taught us. So this is what we need in our life. We need someone that's caring, someone that's going to give us a left arm and a right arm, a left foot and a right foot, and march us to the right places. So I say if we all stand together, it'll be something and we will be somebody.
We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. Let's sing together, y'all. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. Education. We who believe in education will not rest. We who believe in education will not rest until it comes.
I haven't seen much that intense and that upbeat in years. The protesters across the board, the parents, the teachers, and even the little kids, and there were a lot of little kids, they were just really upbeat at Lakeview itself. And there were three parts to that. There was a rally at Lakeview, there was a march to Rahm Emanuel's house, and then there was the silent prayer vigil in front of Rahm's house. And at each point, people were just, disciplined, happy, determined, and the amazing thing, too, if you think about it, is I think everybody knew why they were there, what they were doing, and they weren't about to allow or tolerate any of the nonsense that was being said in all the sound bites about them and about what's going on. Basically, in all the years I've been involved in CPS protests, and especially in the 10 years since they started turnarounds and school closings under Arnie Duncan, this was the most coherent and conscious group. It's like we finally turned this corner where people are very aware of what they're doing and why. They're very aware of the narrative that basically defeats all the lies that are coming out of City Hall and the Board of Ed. And they're willing to stand up and march and protest and continue to move forward against this monstrosity. The purpose of the board meeting itself and the purpose of the ruling class and the Board of Education, 7 members, was to rubber stamp the mayor's school closings, phase-outs, and turnarounds for this year. And, of course, the board did that very successfully. They approved without even marking the actual atrocities they were committing. They approved all the motions that were in front of them to turn around the 10 schools. Then they immediately swung over and approved motions in front of them to pay $300,000 per school to the Academy for Urban School Leadership to do the corporate turnaround model at these schools that AUSL is getting. From the point of view of the protesters, the thing was, I think, most important was to articulate in the face of the board how hypocritical and simply wrong the board members were and the agenda that's coming out of City Hall and the ruling class. And that was real clear in literally 70 out of the 83 people who were signed up to speak. There were about a dozen shills and rent-a-preachers there who spoke in favor of what the board were doing. Most of them were heavily subsidized and come from groups that get millions of dollars to say things like this. The board members themselves ranged from viciously hostile, and that was Penny Pritzker, to self-servingly self-apologetic like Jesse Ruiz, Henry Beenan, and Mahalia Hines. I was watching them during the speeches. Pritzker barely can stop from snarling when Karen Lewis or Jesse Jackson speaks in opposition to her billion-dollar world. At the same time, Mahalia Hines, who's a former teacher and principal in CPS, just insists on boring people with this apologetic stuff about how turning around schools, which has been going on for 10 years, is somehow going to improve things for black children, which it hasn't done. It's only managed to get more black children disrupted in the key areas where turnaround's been going on. So you have this range, but of the 7 board members, each of them has a particularly odious and hypocritical role to play, and they were all playing it to the hilt on February 22nd at the board meeting. Sharon Schmidt, our editor, and my wife covered the Operation Push rally that was on Saturday, the 25th of February. That was very spirited. If you look at the video and the photos, you know, the Push auditorium there was filled with people, most of them wearing red shirts for the Chicago Teachers Union. Jesse Jackson, Karen Lewis, Jitu Brown, and the other leaders of the movement spoke forcefully against what the board had just done in favor of providing all the support necessary now for the 1,000 teachers and other staff who are going to be destroyed by these closings and reconstitutions, and left with a promise that they're going to move towards an elected school board and to continue fighting against this stuff. Piccolo, on the weekend before the school board meeting, was an example of well-organized parent and community and teacher action, and specifically what the people did was they did a sit-in inside Piccolo and an occupation outside in tents in a very cold weekend, the weekend of the 18th, 19th. What happened then was one of the most oleaginous of the board members, Jesse Ruiz, the lawyer, went in and he promised people that they'd get a meeting. So they left the sit-in and the occupation and had a kind of a meeting with him, at which time nothing really happened. Piccolo still was on the chopping block and eventually got chopped. But it was almost a set piece for people to learn from about how these people work. You know, Ruiz is a very sophisticated and very wealthy downtown lawyer who plays his bilingualism and his diversity card to the hilt. He talked to people out of the building and got that sit-in ended and the occupation terminated. And then, as everybody who knew him and knew what the board's up to would have predicted, he betrayed them as soon as he had a chance to vote. When the time came to vote, the board did its usual. They came out of executive session just before 6 p.m. on the 22nd. They lined up and they voted by roll call in favor of every atrocity that was put in front of them in the form of a board report. So they voted unanimously and without discussion or debate in favor of the 10 turnaround motions, the 7 motions for phase-out and school closings, and the motions that provided $300,000 per school to the Academy for Urban School Leadership. One of the interesting things about the vote, though, was at no point was the word turnaround used, because turnaround's not a legal term in Illinois, it's a corporate term in Chicago. What the board voted to do legally was reconstitute 10 schools. They haven't even been able to get the Illinois General Assembly to go along with their nonsensical turnaround and corporate jargon. At the same time, then, they didn't name the schools, so when the votes were taking place, the board secretary was actually reading a number like ES7, and that meant, for example, that maybe Tilden High School was going to be destroyed. But unless there was somebody there with a scorecard to explain to the parents and other people who stayed that late in the afternoon, it was hard for people to realize what had just happened. But then the roll call was called on each of the actions. There was a separate roll call on the 10 reconstitution motions. All the board members then voted proudly to do their duty unanimously for the mayor and the ruling class. And then people just, went very angrily out in the hall to talk about the next step, led by Jitu Brown, Rico Gutstein, the people from Piccolo and elsewhere. The momentum for the elected school board it just got a big push. It's like it got a big push almost uphill. There's a bill in Springfield to have an exploration of getting Chicago an elected school board. The major groups in the city that actually represent people, from the Chicago Teachers Union to COCO and PUSH, are now on board for an elected school board. So one of the next things that's going to happen is there'll be legislative hearings and discussion about how Chicago should do an elected school board prior to it becoming legislative. The reason for that is you have a city with 50 wards and other kinds of voting districts, and you have to figure out how big should the elected school board be, and where should the voting districts come from. I don't think we want a 50-member school board, for example, so we won't be voting by ward. But something's going to come up that's going to enable people to vote for the school board members instead of investing tyrannical and dictatorial power.
We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom will not rest. We who believe in freedom will not rest.